trying to be 7th or 8th isn't what I want to do anymore. I've done it, got my t-shirt, and wanted more. And I think he's happy where he is. To finish 7th or 8th is that what he wants to do. And I would like more to go for podiums on merit. And that needs not a lot, that needs investment, like all the other teams are doing. There's nothing specialist needed. There's just the things which the other teams are doing to get there, because with the budget cap, it has become even more difficult to get on the podiums than before. You don't see the daily problems. You cannot fix them quickly like in another industry, because the competition out there, they are very good, and they try to be better every day than you. They are not just looking at the next quarter results. They are looking every race weekend. You need to catch up, and you need to get in front of them. Try to do that one. It's not easy. You need to be a lot better than anybody else out there. And that means to do a lot of things and believe in the way you go. It's just like Max is in this space now. I call it being like on a wave. Everything is right. You're in the right car. You're in life. You're in a good place. You're financially in a good place. Everything just clicks, and you're lucky as well, So, but at some stage, something will go. All good things come to an end for anybody, and I don't wish to Max to come to an end, the good things, I don't wish bad to anybody, but it will come. Hi, I'm Guenther Steiner. This is Cars and Culture with Jason Stein.
He's the first guest to actually say my last name with the proper pronunciation. So that's reason enough to have you on the program. How are you, Guenther?
I'm good, thank you, and thanks for having me. Not difficult for me to say Stein, good, Steiner, Stein. It's pretty similar,
It is definitely similar. There's some confusion about where you live and where you're from. I know where you're from, and that accent of yours, of course, and the South Tyrol region, Marano, as you told me. But it's actually, you're more of a North Carolina Tar Heel at this point, aren't you, Guenther?
Yeah, I would say so. It's 18 years this year that we moved here, the family and me, So, I think I've got the right accent. They're all wrong here, how they speak. Because they say, oh, you don't get the accent here after 18 years. I said, no, you don't. I don't have an accent. You guys have an accent. So, no, I didn't pick up the southern drawl yet, but... I'm from South Tyrol, which I'm Italian, but I speak German at home, and English, obviously, with my daughter.
Right, exactly. At the grocery store, they probably recognize that you're not from North Carolina too, correct?
I would say so.
That's a long time. Can you believe how long you've been in America now?
No, I still we sometimes speak with my wife, and it's amazing how life flies by, because it were, when we moved here, we didn't know if we are here a year, 2, 3. I moved here with Red Bull to open up the NASCAR program they did at the time, and we didn't know how long we stay. The Red Bull adventure stopped after about 2 years, but I quite like we like to live here. So I had offers to go back to work in Europe. I said, no, I want to give it a go here. There is more opportunity in the United States than in Europe, and I opened my own company in that period of time, and the rest is history. So we stayed here. We spend some time in summer when my daughter's out of school. We go back to Northern Italy, to South Tyrol. We spend normally between 5 and 7 weeks there in the summer, and Christmas we are there every year for 2 weeks. So it's pretty good. We still go there, but as you say, time is just flying by, and it's but as long as it's a good time, who cares? And right, it is a good time, by the way, here.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, indeed. What's the single most American thing that you enjoy?
Ooh. You know what I enjoy? That everything is easier here than in Europe. Oh, I can just compare Europe. And people ask me, because people in Europe ask me, why you like America? Everything is easier. And they say, what do you mean with easier? In general, life. And everybody asks that, but it's, there's more space. It's just, for me, I just have more freedom, and everything. And the biggest example is even the parking spots are bigger than in Europe. Right. It's easier to park. Everything is just like, it's more. I like to live here because everything is just much wider. Everything is my life is I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's a lot easier to do what I do here to do in Europe. It's a lot more difficult, you know. So, and
Convenience.
I think, and that's a good reason why. And I cannot pinpoint every little bit what I mean with easier, but I like it here. Otherwise, I wouldn't have stayed.
Right. Yeah. It's just a convenience factor, isn't it? Everything just
Right.
is more
Correct, yeah.
convenient, more plentiful.
Convenient, yeah. Everybody, and you know, I've got good relationship with my neighbors, but they leave me alone. When you need them, they're there for you. The same for me. But you're not all over each other. You know, there is respect for people. You know, it's like I like that.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about where I saw you a few weeks ago. And, you know, Miami is upon us here this weekend, the Miami Formula One race. I was in the room when you were introduced as the Miami Grand Prix ambassador, and this was to potential Paddock Club buyers. Half of the room, Guenther, was under 40, I think. And when you were introduced, there was this sense of an explosion going off in the room. Can you believe this still?
Not really. Again, it's another one of these mystic things. You know, I mean, you know, I don't want to sound arrogant, but this happens a lot. But I cannot understand it really. But do I really want to understand it? Do I make a science out of it? No. But I think I give the people something, you know, honesty. I cannot talk any other way. I say it straight how it is. And obviously, I always try not to offend anybody. I mean, it's, you know, I'm civilized. But it is just like sometimes I'm amazed. I mean, we had when my first book came out, it's about a year ago. I went to a book signing and there was people there. I think the oldest ones, they were 25. And I was like, how does that come? I'm almost 60, you know, and there's 25 people lining up to get a book signed. It's unreal sometimes, but you know, it's like, okay, if this is what people want, I need to give them something because I think I always say, and again, this is a thing which I learned in America. We without the fans are nothing. You know, we cannot race, or Formula One cannot race for itself. Formula One needs fans, and the fans need to have something they enjoy. And if I'm part of what they enjoy, so it be, you know. I mean, I'm having fun. It's not difficult for me to talk with you, for example. I enjoy it, you know. This is not work for me. You know, this is, you know, it is work, but it is like something I enjoy. And I always was lucky enough in my life that any job I did, I enjoyed it, you know.
This phenomena and what I said that I saw, I mean, it is young women primarily who were most interested. And those are the ones who stood up and asked you questions almost during the open mic question series, as you might remember. And I was just amazed. I mean, all of the years that Formula One has been in this country, and it goes back. I talked to Stefan Johansson yesterday, and we go back 50 years to Formula One or 60 years to Formula One in the United States, perhaps longer. And to have the appeal of young women with team principals, I mean, this would never happen, right?
No, I think it's still strange now that this happens, you know. So how is Stefan? Is he good?
He's good. He's painting. And
yeah, I know that he's painting a lot because he was a big buddy of Keith Haring, you know. So
yes,
yeah, where his love for painting comes from. Yeah, so no, but as you say, it just I don't know where it comes from, but I think people saw on Drive to Survive what team principals actually do, and that they can be characters as well, not only the drivers.
Yeah, let's talk about Drive to Survive. We've talked about a lot on this program over the last 3 years. I want to just go back to kind of the first quote that launched all of this for you. And you know what the quote is, and it's, "We look like a bunch of wankers." Those words in an early season of Drive to Survive really kind of propelled all of this into the limelight. Did you think, or I guess, what did you think when you knew that cameras were going to be following you around several years ago and would be peering into the garages and the conversations that you had and everything else? I mean, that's not something that's ever been normal in the racing world.
No, and I give you a little bit of background here, explain a little bit. When we were when this was presented to the teams from Sean Bratches at the time, head of marketing at FM, and Chase Carey, a lot of teams were there like, this doesn't make sense, and why do we do this? Every team wanted to do their own program to make money, and there was a lot of controversy about it, and obviously 2 teams didn't take part of it. Sorry about my dog in the background.
No problem. I can hear your dog.
But he came along, and I said, yeah, but whatever. I mean, I didn't know. We as Haas, we were the smallest teams, and said, yeah, let's do it. I mean, what can come out? If it is nothing, it's nothing. If it is something, it is something. Very no opinion about it. And then they started to film, obviously, with us, and they came along, and it actually was, I wouldn't say even fun. I didn't even realize that they were there filming. I didn't care. That was it. I didn't care in a good way, not in a bad way. I didn't care. For me, it was like, okay, they put the mic on, and that came out also afterwards, after the first or second season. Some of the team players said, oh, we put so much effort into this, and we are not shown in the show. And I looked at them and said, I didn't put any effort in. I put the mic on. That's the only effort I put into it. The rest I did what I did do every other weekend. So, but it was strange when the first season came out. There was a showing the day before we had that team principal meeting, which the team principal meeting, or the F1 commission is called, not team principal meeting, F1 commission, the FIA is there, FOM, the president, and all the team principals. And I didn't go to the screening of the season because I had no interest to go and see it. And I walk into this room, and everybody got an opinion about me. And I was like, well, what happened here, guys? Well, what did I do wrong in this? Because I know what they were talking about, but I didn't know what was in there. And the president at the time, Jean Todt, made a big comment, you need to go to Hollywood. And I was like, what the hell happened here,
They were mad. They were angry about it.
No, they were very happy. But they
were happy about it.
They were very happy about it, but I didn't know about what. They were happy. They were very, I don't know if they were happy or they were unhappy. They were like, what the hell have you done in this series, And I was like, and I was asking myself, what the hell did I say in this thing? That they're all like speaking about me, because we were still the smallest team and the youngest team. So, and there I decided not to watch it, because I said, if I watch it, then, because it was pretty uncomfortable at the time. You didn't know what was happening. Everybody had an opinion about, but you were not really clear. I think it was going on live on Netflix the day after, 2 days after. So I was getting worried what my wife has got to tell me about me. So I still don't know what she thinks about it, because I never ask her, because I don't ask questions I don't want answers to, But right. I decided there and then I'm not going to watch it, because whatever I did obviously created some type of spectacle, and I don't want to change. I don't want to be in a position that every time I do something, I look over my shoulder if a camera is around, and then I change to be Guenther. So I said, I don't watch it. So I don't see what I do, and I just continue how I am.
Have you ever watched the show?
No.
You've never watched it?
Never watched it, no.
So all of this talk and all of this, all of the spotlight that shifted to you, which I'm sure you had moments shortly after it aired where all of a sudden now more people knew who you were. You never went back and said, well, I wonder what that looked like.
No, I don't want to know. Actually, I'm the opposite. I don't want to know.
Wow.
It's like I don't want to know, because I wouldn't say I'm afraid. It's just like I'm concerned that when you watch yourself, I'm not an actor. I don't need to be a good actor, because I'm not an actor, So I understand an actor, he needs to watch himself to be next time better on TV, But I'm not an actor. I just did the job, which I don't do anymore in the time anyway. So I don't want to watch myself. I just want to stay who I am. And if people like it, fine. If they don't like it, fine as well. Just switch the TV off.
Right. Are you surprised that you became such a prominent person in the show?
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't work for it. I just did what I did every day. I didn't do anything special for the show. It was just like my life. And then obviously I never anticipated that people could be even interested in it.
It changed your life? I'm sure it did.
Yeah, it changed a little bit my life. How obviously people recognize you everywhere. You're never alone. Call it like this. You always know somebody knows you. But again, I'm not doing anything stupid normally. I do stupid things in life, yeah, but normally I'm not behaving stupid or inappropriate, so I'm not afraid of that one. It's just like when you get in for a while, nobody recognizing, and all of a sudden you get, oh, Guenther, you realize again that people know you, but otherwise it didn't change my life in any other aspect. I live the same life as before. I'm living happy in North Carolina.
When you went to go buy that truck in North Carolina, they probably knew who you were, though, the next time.
Oh yeah, they know who I am. Yeah, in North Carolina.
I'd imagine there are metrics that are applied to a show like that. The amount of time a particular brand appears on screen is given a dollar value. Obviously, those metrics are everywhere, Guenther. What do you think your value to Haas was?
I don't know in numbers, but I think in the end it was quite a bit, because it put a small team on the map, and we got interest from sponsors because of it, and people which otherwise wouldn't have even looked at, maybe not even entering Formula One, but not entering or going to the smallest team in Formula One.
Yeah, Bernie Ecclestone said that he was amazed that a team that could perform as poorly as Haas did would get all the publicity. He said that's never happened before.
No, that's never happened, and I think it would not have happened with Bernie, because obviously how Liberty runs the business is completely different than Bernie, and I think Liberty, when they bought it, they knew what they were doing. Obviously, they're not going to spending this amount of money investing in something, because it's called investing, it's not spending. They're investing in something. They're an investment company. They knew what it is needed to make the sport and the business bigger. And that is what they did, I think. And, I think Drive to Survive, we have to say also, it came out at the right time. Obviously, it wasn't a good time. I'm not saying it was a good time, the COVID time, but it came out at the right time, that people were at home a lot and couldn't go out and watched everything which was on TV. And obviously, it was interesting. And then what Formula One was very good at as well was, in the COVID time, they were the first sport going live again, going out there to race. We went racing in June 2021, which a lot of respect to the people who pulled that one off, when they did. So Formula One did a very good job, but everything, the stars lined up as well for them.
A lot of people forget too, Guenther, that when the first shows started, it was really access into how a struggling team could try to do better. And in fact, many of your other team principal colleagues had no interest in the program. I mean, the first few seasons, there was very limited appearances by Mercedes-Benz, for example, when Lewis was doing as well as he was. But you were really, these teams that were trying to break through were the genesis for the start of the whole thing. And then all of a sudden, everybody wanted to be a part of it, right?
Correct, because Ferrari and Mercedes, the first year, they didn't take part of it officially. They said, no, we don't give you access because it's our one. And to be honest, the second year, they couldn't wait to be on the show, They were, look at me. Obviously, they saw the opportunity. And in the end, they took a decision in the first season not to take part. And I'm sure, I wouldn't say they regret it, but they are not very happy about that they didn't take part, and that they didn't have the vision like the other teams which took part and got something out of it. So and everybody was complimentary of the other people what was done there, because in general it wasn't only good for Haas, it was good for Formula One. That is the biggest, I think, for me, and especially in the United States, because Formula One was always neglected from FOM before, then when Liberty Media, an American company, bought it, they knew which market needs to be grabbed. It's still the biggest economy in the world, the United States, and where there's potential, and they went after the biggest potential, not when Bernie was running the sport. I think it is not easy to run the sport in America, and he never succeeded, so he always brushed it off. He said, there is lower hanging fruit. I go somewhere else where it is more easier to do business, but not understanding that there is big business to be done in the United States. Look now how many American sponsors are in Formula One, even on the big teams, and how popular it got here. So in the end, Liberty did the right thing, which Bernie never. I think he never focused on it. Not that he wasn't capable of it, but he never focused on it. For him, it wasn't important. While for Liberty, which knew the States because they are from here, for them it was very important, and they gave what America wanted.
It's amazing too, right? When you think about it, the spin-offs that occurred as a result, behind the scenes of the golf tour, behind the scenes of NASCAR, behind the scenes of tennis. Now all of a sudden everything was just behind the scenes now. That was the secret formula that Sean and the group really put together.
Absolutely, and there's so many Me Too now, and everybody tries to do the same. I think and I understand why they try it, but Me Too. I think it's very difficult to work. It's
Yeah.
normally in other business as well. Look at Coca-Cola. How many people try to make Coca-Cola, Pepsi Cola? How many people try to make a product of that? But they are just Me Too, and I think Drive to Survive is the first and the original one, and people always will go back to that one. I think the other ones are good. I mean, I watched a little bit of the NASCAR one. I didn't watch the golf one because I'm not into golf. I watched a little bit of the tennis one. They're good shows, but they are not as popular as Drive to Survive. Not yet, anyway.
With Gene Haas, did you just run out of time?
In which sense?
Running the team.
I wouldn't say I ran out of time. I think the last year was difficult for both of us. He wanted more. Obviously, last year was a difficult year, and I was always very open, also publicly, about it. We had the wrong concept of the car, and to change in the middle of the season is difficult. And I don't think he understands Formula One to the detail. You need to understand it, why it is not possible to make a big change in the season. And then my biggest frustration was that, to continue just doing more of the same every year, trying to be seventh or eighth, isn't what I want to do anymore. I've done it, got my T-shirt, and wanted more. And I think he's happy where he is. To finish seventh or eighth is that what he wants to do. And I would like more to go for podiums on merit. And that needs not a lot, that needs investment, like all the other teams are doing. There's nothing specialist needed. There is just the things which the other teams are doing to get there. Because with the budget cap, it has become even more difficult to get on the podiums than before, because everybody's in a good place now, and it's more like, how good can you manage your operational budget cap money? That depends how much you invest in your infrastructure and things like this. And obviously, as I said before, I mean, I think Gene Haas is happy to continue like this, and I'm not. And therefore, he didn't want to extend my contract, and I didn't want to change my the ways how I'm thinking.
We had Otmar Zafnar on this program shortly after he left as well. Great interview, and he talked of a very similar approach, that there's a misalignment between perhaps the person running the team at the ground level and the either ownership or the upper level executives who have a different view of how long it takes or what you need to take. That misalignment is real in this sport, isn't it?
Yeah, it's real because it's a very complex sport, and if you do it long time, like Hopmar and myself and a lot of other people are doing it, you know the in and out, and you cannot make changes in 6 months in something like this. You need to have a good vision. You need to believe in the vision. You need to push it through and not get distracted by reading autosport. I call it, it's like a lot of these people they said you should do it like this, yeah, but that doesn't work in how we do things, So, but in the end, I always say, and I'm not bitter at all. For me, actually, I should have done it before. I should have left before, because this didn't came up the last 6 months. At Haas, this is longer since this started with the COVID. When Gene Haas wanted to shut the team down in 2020 because he didn't believe in it. I had to find the money to keep on going, and then obviously he thought he just keep on going. But I always want challenges in life. I want to achieve something. I'm not going around in Formula One just to be seventh and eighth the rest of my life. I mean, I'm almost 60 years old, and I rather do something different where I can achieve what I want to achieve. And it's fine because the team is his. He can decide. There's no criticism on him. He can decide what he wants to do. If he wants to be seventh and eighth, I mean, have at it. I'm fine with that. I go and do something different. It's when you manage it on a daily basis, you see as Otmar as well maybe said, you see the daily problems you've got. When you just see the big spectrum, you don't see the daily problems. You cannot fix them quickly like in another industry, because the competition out there, they are very good, and they try to be better every day than you. They are not just looking, at the next quarter results. They are looking every race weekend. You need to catch up, and you need to get in front of them. Try to do that one. It's not easy. You need to be a lot better than anybody else out there. And that means to do a lot of things and believe in the way you go.
You've said recently that you're not interested in running a team that has the same premise that Gene has, which you just said, and that you want to do more than just participate and score points every once in a while. You really want to compete and try to win. Is ownership in your future?
I don't think so. I cannot afford a team, I mean, that would be the ideal position to be in, but I don't have these amounts of money, unfortunately. But, there's always projects. I mean, I go back when Haas F1 was started. It was a business plan, complete different than any other team was started. I wrote it up. I went around to find an investor. I found Mr. Haas. I think he did very well out of it, investing in a Formula One team. They are worth a lot of money now. So I just went out and did that one. And people always think, oh, if you don't do it the exact way like everybody else is doing it, it must be wrong. No, it can be. Sometimes it cannot be. It isn't better or worse. It's just different. That you need to try sometimes a different approach. And if somebody wants to approach it differently, and I can play part in that one, I'm fully there. But just going for the next job in Formula One, I'm not really interested. Because it is, what can you achieve?
Right.
The good teams, they are not changing management for obvious reasons, because they're good, because they have good management. Why would they change? If not something very strange happened. Then, and the other teams, a lot of them are just going through people trying to get lucky one day. So, but you never know what is happening, and I'm very patient. I'm very busy in the moment.
You are very busy. You're a commentator now. What's that like for you?
Oh, pretty cool. That came out of nowhere. I didn't go for a job. I was approached, and I said, yeah, let's try it. I always say, let's try new things. I want new challenges. And as much as people say, oh, that's not a challenge, it is. Being on TV with millions of people watching, you don't have to underestimate anybody doing that job. And my thing was, I always try to do my best, whatever I do. Sometimes it's not good enough. That can happen. Somebody's better than you. That can happen. But as long as you put the best effort in it, I said, this is something new. I want to experience. I want to do it, learn about it, and get in a complete different, in a different industry in the same sport, obviously. I'm not going to commentating on football because I know nothing about it. So it's something I quite like. I did 2 races this year. I did Bahrain for RTL, the German TV, and the Australian Grand Prix for Network 10, which is the Australian local TV. So I enjoyed it. I've got 6 more races with RTL. I'm doing 1 with Austrian TV. I'm a little bit all over the place, but all good.
So let's have you put your commentator hat on for a minute. There are many people who are critical of the sport right now because of the dominance of one particular team. And they say, well, okay, we're just going back to kind of maybe perhaps where we were with Lewis and his run, or Mr. Schumacher and his run. What is your view of the sport at this stage?
I think the sport at this stage is like, when we go back, obviously I say that there was a dominance before, but I think times have changed as well. People are not this patient anymore.
Right.
In general, they want more. They want, we've got now sprint races as well. We've got a lot more races. Everything has changed. We cannot always go back and say, oh, it was okay then, therefore it is okay now. No, that is not how you make progress. But what I would say, first of all, Red Bull is doing a good job. Max is doing a fantastic job. The combination of them, they are just better than anybody else. Does that solve the problem? What people have got, that there is no competition for P1? No. But I think we need to be a little bit patient. I think this dominance will end. In the moment, Max is just in this place. I mean, if you look at the second Red Bull car, if it would be, and Checo Perez is a good driver. Do not take anything away from him. I always say he's a good driver. It's just like Max is in this space now. I call it being like on a wave. Everything is right. you're in the right car, you're in a good in life, you're in a good place, you're financially in a good place. Everything just clicks, and you're lucky as well, So, but at some stage, something will go. All good things come to an end for anybody, and I don't wish to Max to come to an end, the good things, I don't wish bad to anybody, but it will come. It's just like, would it be nicer, I need to be honest here, if there would be a competition, every race between McLaren, Ferrari, and Red Bull to fight for victory? It would be the coolest thing ever in the moment.
Right.
But you cannot have everything maximum cool. So I think we need to be patient. But if you would say Max goes down with appendicitis, I think we would have that fight right now, because Checo would not dominate like Max in the moment. So I think something will give, because it's so close. I mean, obviously, Max, you say, yeah, but Max has got normally 20 or 30 seconds over everybody else. Yeah, you get that one when you're out there running on your own. A car is so much better when you're not in traffic, that you can use your tires how you want. You can manage everything, and he's so good at that. So, but I talked a long time now about this dominance. I don't know, I don't want to bore anybody, but it's like, I think we need to be a little bit patient and just wait. But there is good fights. I mean, look what McLaren did at the last race in China. Well, yeah. Lando was fantastic, what he did,
This crop of talent that's out there right now, how does it compare to previous eras that you've seen in the sport? Are we at well, I'll tell you what Stefan said after you answer the question.
I think the talent out there in the moment is pretty good. The talent in there. Yeah, it's very good. I mean, you've got this outperformer, which is Max. I need to go back. He has got just that 2% of talent more than anybody else, but the whole pool of F1 drivers is the talent level is very high.
That's what Stefan said. Stefan said,
what did he say?
He said it was at the highest that he could remember. That from the front to the back of the field, outside of a couple of individuals, he said it's the highest level that he's ever seen.
Obviously, I said and I agree with that, and I think the underperformers, they will be out by next year, because there's a lot of talent waiting to get in the moment. Because there's a lot of talent around now which can get into it.
Well, and they start now. His point was they start so young now. They start in karting at 4 or 5 years old. You couldn't, I didn't know this, but you couldn't actually start karting until you were 10 or 12 when he was racing, when he was moving up through the ranks. So the exposure to the seat time, the increased seat time, is just making these drivers just more polished right from the beginning, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. The earlier you start, and the other thing is amazing is how long they stay now. I mean, look at Fernando, look at Lewis. I mean, they are staying in their 40s, So they start at 18 coming into F1, staying until 40. And the good ones stay and the other ones go. And the other thing, I think, what we have to say also, economically, F1 is in a good place. So nobody really needs pay drivers anymore, because the sport is in a good place. So nobody really needs them. Obviously, some people come with sponsors, which is nothing bad. If you've got the talent, if you've got a sponsor, that's fantastic. That's fantastic for everybody, But it's not like that maybe 20 or 30 years ago, some people shouldn't be in F1, but they just bought money and made the team survive, And but now that doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't need to happen anymore, because all the teams can survive on their own.
Lewis going to Ferrari. Tyler Epp, who's been on this program, president of the Formula One Miami race, compared it to John Lennon leaving the Beatles.
I never heard that one. Good for Tyler, I need to when I see him this weekend, I need to speak with him about that. That's a good quote, Yeah, I would say so, but then as a new challenge, I mean, I said it before, he's almost in his 40s, I think it will be his last team he's with. It's just one of these things. He wants a new challenge. He was 11 years happy with Mercedes. I think he's still happy there. It's just like sometimes you want something different. And Lewis is one of these guys. I mean, he had so much success in his career, not only on the racetrack, also as a celebrity and things like this. So for him, I think this is like the ultimate goal. And I think every driver deep inside wants to have a stint at Ferrari, if possible.
Yeah, it is definitely a new challenge. What does F1 need to do as an organization next? How does it need to evolve?
I think the next evolution is to stabilize where it is now. That would be because the growth over the last 5 years was immense. We always have to think that. You cannot keep on just going, you know. I mean, I think it needs to stabilize. It needs to be stabilized, especially in the United States. You know, we've got now 3 Grand Prix. Maybe in a few years put the 4th one on, but in the moment stabilize, work diligently that all 3 Grand Prix, are in a good place commercially as well, and that they're here to stay. The same for the teams. They need to stabilize the teams, that they, in the end, all of them are profitable, so they are here for the long term. And then keep on doing what they're doing, because I don't think putting more races on, I mean, if you say 1 or 2 in the next 5 years, it's fine, but putting a lot more on is no need for it. I actually don't think it's needed. We've got now 24 races, 6 of them being sprint races, which means there are 2 races a weekend. Like one of them, the second one this year is in Miami this weekend. You know, it's a sprint race on Saturday, so which is always interesting. But if you put all on sprint race, that's a little bit too much. So I think there is so much good things going on. The biggest effort now needs to be put in for me. It's stabilization.
Yeah, it's incredible what the schedule is now when you think about it. And you know, from your NASCAR days, you know that that sport went through this version of itself where it just expanded to the point where it seemed like when the season was ending, it was already beginning again. And there's a little bit of that too, and that's fatigue for the teams, drivers, also maybe the audience too, right?
Correct. There is everywhere a saturation factor, I think, in everything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the amazing thing for me, Formula One, how they got around saturation factor is because the events are so different from each other. So there's always something new. And then there are 6 sprint races, you know. You talk about races, there are the classic races, you know, back in Europe, Spa, Monza, all that stuff. Then you've got the night races. Then you've got the evening races. Then you've got the event races like Miami this weekend, you know, where there's a lot going on in an event and there is a race. So people really look forward to it still. And that is how I think they got around, because if you would have 24 cooker cut races, it wouldn't work, in my opinion. People would get too much. But every time is something special happening in F1 when a race is on.
Yeah, agreed. Let's talk a little bit more about you just to close out the show here. If you were not a F1 team principal, or if you weren't in motorsports, what would you have pursued? Would you have been like your father and stayed in the butcher industry, maybe?
No, I was never really interested in that one, to be honest. No, I wouldn't stay in there. I don't really know what I would ended up to be doing, you know, but my love for cars was always somehow being around cars. So maybe a car salesman. Let's try with that one.
Okay. That's the next version of you. Drive to sell cars.
Exactly. Drive to sell. Yeah.
Drive to sell. You've met some real and been involved with some absolute legends. What was Niki Lauda like?
Different. It was, I had a very good, I mean, when I grew up, Niki was going for the championships in the 70s, 80s. And obviously he was the local, not the local, because where I come from is very close to Austria, you know, so Austrian world champion, it reflected a lot in our culture as well. So he was a hero of mine. And then the day I was asked to, or he asked me to speak with him, for me, it was like, sure, I'm going to speak with Niki Lauda. If nothing comes out, at least I spoke with Niki Lauda in my life. Then we went for dinner, and I started working for him, and we became friends, you know. And it's something, he was a very special breed of a human being, but I put that one down as well to his experience in life, you know, with that accident where he was put when he was more dead than alive. I think that leaves some scars in you, but I always had fun. He was tough, but he was always fair, you know. He was always fair, and you could always talk with him, you know. So I got on very well with him, and I'm very proud that I was a friend of him. And in Austria this year for the Grand Prix, Austrian Grand Prix, I'm doing some stuff with his son, with Matthias, which I'm very, when they asked me, I said, yeah, because I said before, I don't want to do too many races this year. I want to take it a little bit easier. But when they said, oh, we are trying to do something with you and Matthias over the weekend, I said, yeah, I'm in for this one, you know, because I respect Niki a lot. And Matthias, I got to know him very well as well, you know, so we will have fun. But for me, it's pretty cool.
I'm going to give you some names, and I'd like your first reaction to the names, if we can do it that way. Michael Schumacher.
A legend. Legend of the sport, won so many things, just so good,
Ferrari.
Again, iconic, what Enzo Ferrari did with the brand is unbelievable, and what the people after him did with it is even more unbelievable.
Yeah. Zach Brown.
I think the ultimate American salesman when he had this marketing company, and Zach is doing a good job at McLaren. We can say whatever we want, and I get on very well with Zach, so I respect what he did, because it wasn't always easy. He went through tough times, but he got out of it with McLaren. But the biggest respect for him, what he did with CSM when he was running the marketing company. He tried to be a race car driver. I think he realized his talent wasn't big enough, or he was too big for the car. Could also be that one,
Yeah.
And changed the career.
Bernie Ecclestone.
I mean, where he took the sport is something unbelievable. Obviously, he did the right thing, or he when it was forced, or when it was sold to Liberty, because they took the next step. But where he took it from, where he picked it up to where he took it, amazing.
Daniel Ricciardo.
A guy which, in the moment, I think he's in China. He was a little bit better for him. He's still struggling, but he was such a good driver, such a good human being and character. I hope he gets back to where he was before, winning races.
Yeah. Christian Horner.
Hard worker. I mean, had a lot of success with Red Bull. I worked with him in the beginning of Red Bull, and he pushed.
Yeah, you knew him a long time ago.
Yeah. I know him a long time now. He is a big part of the Red Bull success.
In this situation, it's just we all have to get beyond it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I spoke with him, and I said, it's one of the things. I'm sure you want to get over with one way or another. I don't know what way, because I don't have the facts, but I hope it all works out for everybody involved. Positively. It will not be positive, at least without damage for anybody.
Two more. Lewis Hamilton.
Again, as well, a legend of the sport. What he did with Mercedes was something very, very cool,
And Fernando Alonso.
I mean, unbelievable what the guy
is a legend.
He's a legend, and for me, he's the best racer. As a racer, he's the best. He doesn't need an engineer. He doesn't need a strategist. He can do it all himself.
Miami is this weekend. What will you be doing in Miami as the ambassador of the race?
I will be around, speaking with people, engaging with people which are around, and just be there when they need me. When Tyler, Tom, and Mr. Ross needs me, I will be around to do whatever they need to do me. But I think we did a good job to explain to people why they should come to Miami. And you know why? Because it's the coolest event in F1.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It is. I mean, you described it earlier. This is an event race more than anything else. You have to go to Miami, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you want to have a good weekend out with your family, it's the race to go with, because there's so much going on. It's not only car racing, it's so much happening. So, there's a lot of car racing as well with the F1 Academy, with the Porsche Super Cup. There is so many things happening. So I think if you're interested in any of it, you cannot miss this one.
Where are we going to find you in 3 years, Guenther?
If I just would know. Yeah, if I just would know. If I just would know, Jason, I don't know where you find me, but I'm very happy where I'm now. And, if I can stay around in Formula One, doing one thing or the other, I'm still happy.
The book, the latest book is Survive to Drive, so appropriately titled. And it is a fun read. If you want to read almost a daily diary of what it was like going through the last number of years. And the language is fun. You kept it very clean on this program, which I think all of the children listening appreciate. But if you want to read, you've got to wait till you're a little older to read it. But it is so enjoyable. And thank you for being on this program. Thank you for everything that you do for the sport. And I will see you in Miami.
See you in Miami, Jason. Thank you very much, and thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.